Your grandmother didn't and own a label maker. She didn't and have perfectly matching storage bins from the shop or a subscription to a decluttering app. Yet if you stepped into her small terrace house in 1962, you would notice something immediately. Everything had its place. The surfaces were clear. The floors were spotless. And there wasn't a single junk drawer anywhere in the house. One of the habits on this list was taught to children before they were even old enough to properly tie their shoes. Another created such a simple but powerful system that today professional organizers charge hundreds of pounds an hour to teach the very same idea. These were not clever cleaning hacks or trendy organizing tricks. They were simple daily routines that quietly kept chaos under control without costing a single penny. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe because these forgotten habits might completely change the way you look at your own home. Now let us take a look at 20 forgotten British habits that once kept homes perfectly tidy and immaculate. Number 1. The standard that never slipped. Above all else, your grandmother maintained a standard and refused to let it drop. One dirty cup left in the sink became permission for two. One cushion unsquared led to a sofa in disarray. She understood that tidiness was not an achievement, but a continuous practice. The moment standards slipped, they became harder to restore. This vigilance sounds exhausting to modern ears, but it wasn't an apost. Because the habits were ingrained so deeply, maintaining them required no willpower. They were simply how the day unfolded. The bed was made because beds were made in the morning. Dishes were washed because dishes were washed after meals. There was no negotiation, no bargaining with oneself. No promise to do it later. The standard was the standard. Number 2, the Sunday reset. Sunday evening was preparation time. While the week and roast settled and the washing up dried on the rack, your grandmother walked through the house ensuring everything was ready for Monday. School uniforms laid out, shoes polished, the diary checked for appointments, laundry sorted for wash day. This reset meant Monday morning ran smoothly, and the week started with order rather than chaos. The ritual took perhaps 30 minutes and saved hours of scrambling over the following days. Modern families end Sunday evenings in front of the television, then face Monday and oppose chaos unprepared. The week begins in panic and never quite recovers. Number 3, the proper handover. When your grandmother left a room, she scanned it quickly. Was anything out of place? Had she left a cup or a book? Were the cushions straight? This mental handover took 3 seconds and caught small messes before they accumulated. She learned the habit from her own mother, who called it leaving a room fit for company. The principle assumed that at any moment someone might knock at the door. A neighbor, the vicar, a tradesman. The house must always be presentable. This constant readiness worsened and anxiety. It was pride. A clean home reflected on the family and character. We abandoned this standard entirely. We close the lounge door when visitors arrive, hoping they won't notice the state of things. Here what separates your grandmother and approach from modern organization advice. She didn't set aside entire weekends for deep cleans that left her exhausted and resentful. She integrated maintenance into daily life until it required no thought at all. The bed got made while waiting for the bathroom. The kitchen got wiped while the kettle boiled. The surfaces got cleared during the evening tidy. Individual tasks took minutes. Combined, they kept a home immaculate with perhaps 90 minutes of total effort spread across an entire week. Modern approaches concentrate cleaning into marathon sessions that feel like punishment. We avoid them. The mess builds and the next session becomes even more daunting. Your grandmother was never daunted because she was never behind. Number 4, the daily dusting. Your grandmother dusted every day, not the whole house. One room, different room each day, rotating through the week. A soft cloth, perhaps with a drop of lavender water, wiped along surfaces and picture frames. The task took 5 minutes and prevented the gray film that builds up in modern homes over weeks of neglect. Dust in the 1950s was a serious problem. Coal fires sent particles through every room. Without daily attention, surfaces became grimy and fabrics deteriorated. But even after central heating replaced coal, the daily dusting habit continued in many households. The difference between a home that and a pos dusted weekly and one that and a pos dusted daily is visible within days. We in apostv lost this habit entirely, then wonder why our allergies have worsened. Number 5. The coat hook and shoe rack system. By the back door, never the front. Your grandmother maintained a row of hooks in a simple wooden rack. Every family member had an assigned hook. Coats, hats, and scarves hung in the same spot daily. Shoes lined up below in pairs. Children could dress themselves because they knew exactly where to find their things. This system prevented the morning scramble that modern families know too well. No hunting for missing gloves, no searching under piles for the right shoe. Everything visible, accessible, and ordered. The back door was chosen deliberately. It faced the garden and the coal shed and wasson and a pos seen by visitors. The front hallway stayed presentable for guests. Number 6. The clear surface principle. Horizontal surfaces attracted clutter. Your grandmother knew this and fought back with strict rules. The kitchen counter held the kettle, the tea caddy, and the toaster. Nothing else lived there permanently. The dining table was for dining, clear at all other times. The coffee table held a vase and perhaps an ashtray, nothing more. Anything left on a surface was put away at the end of each day. No piles of post, no keys and coins, no accumulated detritus of daily life. The result was a home that looked larger and felt calmer than its square footage suggested. We cover every surface until the room feels cluttered and claustrophobic, then blame the house for being too small. Number 7. The landing basket. At the bottom of the stairs sat a basket. As your grandmother moved through the ground floor, any item that belonged upstairs went into the basket. At the top of the stairs sat another basket for items heading down. Whenever someone climbed or descended, they checked the basket and took something with them. This simple system meant nothing accumulated on the stairs, and items migrated back to their proper floors without special trips. The baskets were usually wicker, costing a few shillings, and they lasted decades. Professional organizers rediscovered this technique in the 2000s, marketing it as a revolutionary concept. Your grandmother had been using it since 1953. Number 8. The seasonal turnover. Twice a year, your grandmother performed a ritual that kept wardrobes manageable and storage sensible. Summer clothes went into the spare room cupboard or the trunk under the bed. Winter clothes came out. Everything was inspected, laundered, and assessed. Items that no longer fit or hadn't and been worn were set aside for charity. This turnover meant only one season and a pos worth of clothing lived in the main wardrobe at any time. Drawers closed properly. Items could be seen and selected without rifling through layers. The process took one afternoon and bought 6 months of order. Modern wardrobes hold 4 seasons simultaneously. We can and find what we want, so we buy duplicates. The duplicates add to the chaos and the cycle continues. Number 9. The one-in one-out rule. Before anything new entered the house, something old left. Buy a new blouse, donate an old one, receive a gift, find space by clearing something else. This wasn't an minimalism. It was mathematics. The house had finite space. If items only entered and never left, the space would fill. Your grandmother applied this rule to everything from kitchen gadgets to Christmas decorations. The principle kept cupboards from overflowing and drawers from jamming. Children learned it young. A new toy meant choosing which old toy would go to the church jumble sale. The decision forced them to consider whether they truly wanted the new item. Often they didn't in not if it meant losing something they loved. We in abandoned this rule entirely. Items flood in through online shopping and never leave. We rent storage units to hold the overflow and still complain our homes are too small. Notice how none of these habits required buying anything. No storage solutions, no organizational products, no trips to IKEA for another set of boxes. Your grandmother understood that purchasing containers to hold clutter simply meant you had more clutter now housed in matching bins. Real organization was about having less and putting away what remained. A 2022 survey by YouGov found that British households spend an average of £340 annually on storage and organizational products. Your grandmother spent nothing. Her home was tidier. The modern approach treats clutter as an inevitability to be managed. The traditional approach prevented clutter from accumulating in the first place. One costs money and fails. The other is free and works. Number 10, the 15-minute evening tidy. Every night before bed, your grandmother walked through the ground floor with a small basket, collecting anything that didn't and supposed belong. A child and a past toy, a teacup, a book left on the arm of the chair, 15 minutes maximum. She and a past return items to their proper homes, plump the cushions, straighten the antimacassars, and switch off the lights. The house woke up tidy. This wasn't an past deep cleaning. It was maintenance. The quick circuit prevented small messes from becoming overwhelming chaos. House Beautiful magazine recommended this practice as early as 1923, calling it the evening round. Your grandmother didn't, and a past need the article. Her mother had done the same as had hers. Modern homes skipped this ritual entirely. We collapse into bed, leaving the lounge as we found it, and the mess compounds night after night until the whole room needs excavating. Number 11, the mending box. In the corner of the sitting room sat a basket or box containing needles, thread, buttons, darning wool, and fabric scraps. Nothing with a torn seam or missing button was put away broken. It went in the mending box, and once a week, usually during an evening radio program, your grandmother worked through the pile. Clothes lasted years longer because minor damage never became major. A loose button was secured before it fell off and vanished. A small tear was stitched before it spread. The habit extended beyond clothes. Lampshades were recovered. Cushion corners reinforced. Everything repairable was repaired. We now throw away items that need 5 minutes work and buy replacements that will last half as long. The mending box kept wardrobes organized because nothing broken cluttered the drawers. Number 12, the newspaper under the doormat trick. Every entrance, front and back, had newspaper layered beneath the doormat, not for reading, for absorbing. Wet boots, muddy shoes, damp umbrellas dripped onto yesterday and past times, which soaked up the moisture and could be replaced in seconds. The mat stayed dry, the floor stayed clean. The paper was free, already paid for, and read. In homes where mats were expensive and difficult to wash, this preserved them for years. Your grandmother changed the newspaper weekly in dry weather, daily in wet. Children were trained to stamp their feet, wipe their shoes, and step off the mat before going further. Any mess stayed contained in that single square foot. We in Aposv replaced this with entrance rugs we wash twice a year at best, wondering why the hallway carpet looks gray by March. Number 13, the closing the kitchen ritual. After the last cup of tea was washed and dried, the kitchen was officially closed for the night. Surfaces wiped, crumbs swept, tea towel hung to dry on the arbor rail or radiator. The bin emptied if it was getting full. The room was left exactly as it should be found in the morning. This wasn't an past just tidiness. It was respect for the space and for whoever would enter it first the next day. Oral histories collected by the Museum of English Rural Life described this ritual across generations. Women spoke of their mothers closing the kitchen as a signal that the day in past work was done. The house could rest. When children wandered down for a midnight snack, they found a clean kitchen and were expected to leave it that way. Modern kitchens never close. We graze until bedtime, leaving evidence of each visit. The room accumulates mess around the clock, and we face yesterday in past chaos with every morning in past coffee. Number 14, the touch it once rule. When post came through the letterbox, your grandmother sorted it immediately. Bills went in the bill folder. Letters to be answered went on the writing desk. Circulars went straight in the bin. She never put post somewhere to deal with later. That pile on the hallway table that grows in modern homes, it didn't and past exist in hers. The principle extended everywhere. Bring shopping in, put it away. Don and past leave bags on the counter to unpack when you and past got a minute. Take off your coat, hang it up. Don and past drape it over the chair because you and past are only staying a moment. This single habit prevented approximately 70% of household clutter. According to a 2019 survey by the British Cleaning Council, we touch things multiple times, setting them down, moving them, shuffling them around, never quite completing the task. Your grandmother touched each item once and finished the job. The efficiency was remarkable. Here in Apos where things get interesting. The habits we in Apostrophe covered so far required no equipment and no expense. They were purely behavioral patterns drilled into daily life until they became invisible. But your grandmother also understood something modern decluttering experts have only recently rediscovered. Clutter breeds clutter. One item left on the counter gives permission for a second. A single sock on the floor becomes a pile by Wednesday. She called this letting standards slip, and she guarded against it with almost military discipline. Studies from the Princeton Neuroscience Institute confirmed what she knew instinctively. Visual clutter competes for attention in the brain, reducing working memory and increasing stress. Your grandmother couldn't in a post quote the research, but she could see the effect. A clear surface calmed the mind. A cluttered one created anxiety. Every habit from here on builds on this principle. Number 15, the airing cupboard system. That warm cupboard around the hot water tank wasn't and a post just for warming towels. It was a precision storage system. Sheets on the left, folded in thirds. Towels on the right, stacked by size. Blankets at the bottom. Pillowcases nested inside their matching sheet sets, so nothing went missing. Your grandmother could reach in blindfolded and pull out exactly what she needed. The warmth served a purpose beyond comfort. In damp British homes without central heating, the airing cupboard prevented mildew and kept linens fresh between uses. Housewives rotated stock methodically, oldest to the front, newest to the back, ensuring even wear across the set. When fitted sheets arrived in the 1970s, they disrupted this beautiful system. Nobody could fold them properly, and the careful order collapsed. We now stuff linens wherever they and apostle fit and spend 10 minutes hunting for a matching pillowcase. Your grandmother would be appalled. Number 16, the everything has a place rule. Keys hung on the hook by the door. Letters went in the rack on the hall table. Scissors lived in the top drawer of the sideboard. Umbrellas stood in the stand. Every single item in your grandmother and Apos house had an assigned home, and everyone knew where that home was. This wasn't an apost about labeling systems or color-coded bins. It was simply repetition until it became instinct. Children learned early. If you use something, you put it back. Not on the nearest surface, not somewhere safe, back where it belonged. The phrase, "en quod a place for everything and everything in its place," en quod appeared in British household guides as far back as 1842. Your grandmother didn't an apost invent the concept. She inherited it from her mother, who inherited it from hers. The result was a home where nothing was ever lost. No frantic searches for car keys, no drawers crammed with miscellaneous items. Professional organizers now charge substantial fees to implement what was once simply called good housekeeping. Number 17, the weekly deep clean schedule. Monday was wash day. Tuesday was ironing. Wednesday, the bedrooms got a thorough going over. Thursday meant bathrooms. Friday was floors and surfaces. Saturday, the front step was scrubbed. This wasn't an apost optional. This was how homes ran. Your grandmother had a cleaning schedule written on the inside of the broom cupboard door, each day assigned specific tasks that rotated through the house. By Sunday, every room had been addressed, and the week started fresh. Social historians at the University of Essex documented this pattern across hundreds of oral histories from the 1950s and 60s. Women described the satisfaction of knowing exactly what needed doing, and when. There was no decision fatigue, no standing in the hallway wondering where to start. The schedule became automatic, like breathing. Modern advice tells us to tackle everything at once during a weekend blitz. But your grandmother knew that small daily efforts prevented the overwhelming mountain that makes us give up entirely. 15 minutes a day kept her home spotless. We spend 3 hours on a Saturday and still miss the skirting boards. Number 18, the clean-as-you-go kitchen. Your grandmother never faced a sink full of dishes after dinner because she washed as she cooked. Peel potatoes, rinse the peeler, dry it, put it back, drain the veg, wash the colander while the gravy simmers. By the time the meal hit the table, the kitchen was nearly spotless. Only the dinner plates remained. This wasn't an apost obsessive, it was practical. In kitchens half the size of modern ones with no dishwasher and limited counter space, letting mess accumulate meant losing your workspace entirely. Ministry of Food films from the 1940s demonstrated this technique as essential wartime efficiency. A mixing bowl left dirty became a breeding ground for bacteria in homes without refrigeration. Washing up liquid cost money. Hot water cost more. Every drop was used deliberately. The habit died when dishwashers arrived. We pile dishes in the sink, promising to load them later, and wonder why cooking feels like such a chore. Your grandmother spent less time cleaning because she never let the mess build up in the first place. Number 19. The daily bed-making rule. The bed was made before breakfast, every single morning. No exceptions. Your mother would smooth the sheets tight enough to bounce a coin, fold the ID down with hospital corners, and plump each pillow until it sat square against the headboard. This took perhaps 4 minutes and transformed the entire bedroom from chaos to calm before the kettle boiled. Women and APOS Institute pamphlets from 1954 listed bedmaking as the first task of the day, arguing that a made bed set the tone for everything that followed. Psychologists at the University of Hertfordshire confirmed this decades later, finding that people who make their beds report feeling more in control of their lives. But your grandmother didn't, and APOS need a study. She knew that an unmade bed made the whole room look neglected, no matter how clean the rest was. The habit created a ripple effect. Once the bed looked tidy, leaving clothes on the floor felt wrong. The room stayed presentable with almost no extra effort. Number 20. The doorstep ritual. Before anyone crossed the threshold, shoes came off. Not inside, outside. Your grandmother kept a boot scraper cemented into the front step, and every family member used it without being asked. Mud, gravel, street grime, all of it stayed where it belonged. In the 1950s, when front paths were often unpaved and coal dust settled on everything, this Wolson and APOS fussiness. It was survival. A stiff brush hung by the back door for work boots. Wellington boots lived in the coal shed, never the kitchen. The National Trust and APOS archive of domestic photographs from the era shows boot scrapers at nearly every working-class doorstep, some worn smooth from decades of use. Inside, slippers waited in a neat row. The carpet, often the most expensive item in the house after the furniture, stayed clean for years. Modern homes have replaced this with a flimsy doormat and crossed fingers. We track in dirt our grandmothers would never have tolerated, then wonder why the Hoover bag fills so fast,